All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we're putting on our detective hats. AI is absolutely everywhere now. It's writing articles, popping up in your emails, even crafting social media posts. And let's be honest, it's getting crazy hard to tell what's real and what's not. So today, we're going to arm you with the skills you need to become a digital detective and spot the difference. Let's dive right in.
But hey, before we start cracking the case, do me a quick favor. If you want to join our little detective agency here and get more tips like this, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Seriously, it helps us out a ton and helps others find this stuff too.
Okay, pop quiz time. Right out of the gate, I want you to look at the description for this very explainer. Go on, give it a read. Now, what do you think? Was that written by a human or was it an AI? Got your answer? Good. Lock it in because we're going to circle back to it at the very end.
So here's our game plan for today. This is your official detective toolkit. First up, we'll cover the case of AI content. Then we'll get into the vibe check, our first impressions. After that, it's time for forensics, dusting for fingerprints. Then we'll analyze the blueprints. And finally, we'll get to the final verdict and that crucial human touch.
All right, Section 1, the case of AI content. So you might be asking, why is this even a big deal? Well, because the internet is literally being flooded with AI-generated text. We're talking news articles, marketing fluff, you name it. This isn't just a fun game of spot the robot, it's about knowing who or what you can actually trust online, and frankly, protecting yourself from a tidal wave of misinformation.
And the thing is, this technology is getting scarily good. I mean, there was a study where people thought they were talking to a real human instead of an AI almost half the time. Think about that. That kind of blurriness is the perfect breeding ground for fake news and disinformation, which is exactly why this detective work we're doing is so important.
Okay, on to our first tool in the toolkit, the vibe check. Just like any good detective, your first and best tool is often your gut. Sometimes you read something and it just feels off, right? You can't put your finger on it yet, but that's the first clue. We're going to learn to trust that feeling.
So the first thing your gut might pick up on is what I like to call unnatural fluency. The writing is, well, too perfect. Every comma is in place, the grammar is flawless, but it feels totally flat. It's so polished that it's sterile. There's no personality, no quirks, no soul. It's like a beautiful car with no engine. It looks right, but it's not going anywhere.
Let me show you exactly what I mean. Let's take a simple question. Who is a freelancer? A human might say something like, oh, it's kind of like being your own boss, You call the shots. It's personal. It's relatable. But in AI, it's going to give you the textbook definition. A freelancer is an individual who engages in a work arrangement. You see that? One feels like a conversation, the other feels like a dictionary. That's the vibe check in action.
All right, the vibe check got us in the door. Now, it's time for some real forensics. Let's get out the magnifying glass and start dusting for fingerprints. These are the specific, telltale linguistic clues that AI leaves all over the crime scene, so to speak.
Okay, listen up, because this one is the smoking gun. It's called the contrastive reframe. And I promise you, once I point this out, you will start seeing it everywhere. The pattern is simple. It's not just X, it's Y. Or it doesn't do X, it does Y. The AI uses this trick to sound profound and sophisticated, but really it's just a cheap formula to create a sense of fake depth. It's a dead giveaway.
Here's Exhibit A. I guarantee you've seen this one before. We're not just building a product, we're creating an experience. That not just we're creating, it's the classic AI formula, textbook.
And another one. AI doesn't eliminate labor, it redistributes it. See? It's the same trick. Deny one thing, then state something that sounds smarter. It's a simple, repeatable pattern, and AI loves it.
And here's a slightly sneakier version. The teams who will thrive now aren't just using AI for speed, they're combining it with, see? It's the same basic blueprint, just with a few more words. Aren't just using, they're combining. It's one of the AI's absolute favorite moves.
This quote just nails it perfectly. Someone wrote, "My mind automatically screams AI when it sees the telltale, it's not X but it's Y sentence construction. I'm never sure what hit you, but I sincerely hope it was a hefty bill from OpenAI, and honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. It just perfectly captures how tired and robotic that formula feels."
All right, next fingerprint, the vocabulary. AI models are trained on, like the entire internet, including a ton of academic papers and corporate jargon. So they love to use these big, clunky words to sound smart. Think utilized when a normal person would just say used.
or leveraged instead of used. Nobody talks like that. And be on the lookout for those super cheesy over-the-top phrases like, in the realm of, harnessing the power, or unlocking the potential. It's all buzzwords and no real meaning.
Another big one is the overuse of transition words. You'll see AIs leaning on words like furthermore, moreover, consequently, additionally, like a crutch. They just kind of jam them in there to connect sentences, but it doesn't feel natural. It makes the writing feel clunky and, well, robotic. A good human writer connects ideas with the flow of the argument, not just by slapping a formal transition word at the start of every other sentence.
Okay, so we've been looking at the clues up close. Now it's time to zoom out. We're moving from fingerprints to the blueprints, the overall structure of the entire piece of writing.
Think about how people talk. There's a rhythm to it, right? We use short sentences, then we use longer, more complex ones. It creates a natural flow. We tell little stories, we go on tangents. AI writing, on the other hand, is often just flat. It's monotonous, sentence after sentence of roughly the same length and structure. It's so predictable it's boring. It's the literary equivalent of a dial tone.
So when you're looking at the big picture, here are the red flags to watch for. First, is it super generic and vague? Does it feel like it's just skating on the surface without any real detail or insight? Is it repeating the same words or phrases over and over? And here's the kicker. Does it have any new ideas or personal stories? Usually, no. And you have to check the facts. AIs are famous for just making stuff up. They'll invent quotes, cite fake studies. They'll sound super confident while being completely wrong.
Okay, we've gathered all our clues, we've analyzed the forensic evidence and the blueprints. Now it's time for the final verdict. But hold on, because this is where the case gets a little complicated.
Because here's the twist. Remember that whole it's not X, it's Y thing? Well, humans have been using that rhetorical trick for centuries. It's a classic persuasive writing technique. As this quote says, strong rhetorical devices weren't invented by AI. Sometimes it's just good writing. So what gives?
Well, this is why being a good detective is so important. These tells we've talked about, they're clues, not absolute proof. Context is everything. For example, a human writing a blog post for search engines might stuff it with keywords. A human writing a press release will sound formal and a bit robotic. So a single clue is never enough. You have to look for a pattern. You have to weigh all the evidence together before you can make the final call.
So let's wrap this up with your final detective's checklist. Step 1, always start with the vibe check. Does it feel like a real person is behind it? Step 2, dust for those linguistic fingerprints. Look for those lazy reframes and bloated vocabulary. Step 3, analyze the blueprints. Is there a natural rhythm, or is it just a flat, repetitive structure? And finally, step 4, weigh all the evidence and consider the context before you deliver your verdict.
Oh, and before we go, remember that question I asked you at the very beginning about this explainer's description? Well, the verdict is in. It was written by a human. Did you get it right? It's tricky, isn't it? And that's the whole point. As this technology keeps evolving, that line between human and AI is just going to get blurrier and blurrier, which leaves us with a really big question. In a world filled with synthetic content, what does it even mean to be authentic anymore? That's something I think we're all going to be figuring out for a long time. Thanks for joining the investigation.